Hello everyone, my name is Daniel from Research and Reality. Today I want to show you the interface of Unity. I will show you the main user interface, where the main panels that you will work with. I will walk you through most of the main tools, the main panels, and the main windows that you may be operating when you are working with this software, so you will start your XR projects. So let's begin. So the first thing I want to show you is just the scene that I'm working here. This scene is already something built, something working on, and I choose this because I have many elements that may be useful for showcasing certain examples of how the Unity interface works. So first of all, I'm working here with Unity 2020 version 3.5, and the interface of Unity haven't changed much since then until now, 2024. So we are working with interface that is up to date. It will be very similar to this one. There's no big changes since then. Since actually it's 2019, I guess, 2020. I haven't seen any big changes. So the first thing I want to show you is that you will have main windows in different areas that I will explain a continuation. For example, first thing you will see when you open a Unity project is that you will see a hierarchy panel, which is a panel that shows you elements that are inside. For example, this cube that I will show you here, I'm touching this element here, and it will tell me it will indicate which element is inside of the scene. So all the elements in hierarchy or in the hierarchy panel are actually elements inside your game or inside your experience. They are already showing at some point into the game. So these elements are into the scene in somewhere, or they will appear somewhere. So these elements are ready to play. Then the next panel that I want to show you is the panel that's called a scene, which is the panel that shows us all the elements that we will use for working. For example, in my case, it will show these two hands, which is player. Right? This is my main player here, which is this XR player. You will have a big cube using as a floor. You will see here. And then I'm having this panel here, this two-dimensional panel, which I call a main menu. It's a very long menu here. So see these elements in a scene. And here, if I click the scroll button of my mouse, if I click any element, I can actually edit those elements. So for example, if I want to move my X rig here, immediately will appear a gizmo, right? And in this case, the gizmo is indicating to a scale, but you can also choose from these tools what you want to be actionable on that gizmo. In my case, I want to move it, so I will move my player in this direction, or in this axis, or in another axis. Got it? So all the elements that are actually shown in the scene is actually the place that we will work in. So if you have experience with any three-dimensional software before, this is actually the canvas, the three-dimensional canvas, where you edit, and where you move, where you rotate, where you activate elements, and where you work most of the time in Unity. Particularly if you are importing three-dimensional objects, assets, and you are editing, this is your workplace. Now, at the same time, another important window of the interface, panel of the interface of Unity, is the panel called Game, which is quite different from the scene. Game, or this scene, is actually, if I try to click it, it's not editable. Why is it? Because game actually shows the result of our game. So if I click play here, I will actually start to run the software that I'm building. In this case, for example, I'll try to play here. It will load my application, or in this case, I'm building an APK for mobile, so for VR. And once I'm loading here, then I'll probably see, and then I can actually observe what is happening in the scene. Got it? So I can see what's happening, etc., etc. So it's different from scene because game actually only works when we are playing, and it shows us the result or the outcome of what we are editing on scene. So some people actually try to take this window and separate it and split it in two. And if you have two screens, actually, you can see more or less, for example, the result here. If I move the player, you will see my player, in my case, is my main camera because this is a first person project, right? So in this case, I can edit on my scene and I will see the result on my game window. Got it? So game window is a super important thing. I'll actually show you here. If I edit something, then everything that is the result of my edition on the scene, then it will be shown on the game panel, okay, on the game window. So the game window shows us actually how your game or your experience will be shown to the player at the as an end outcome or as an end file. Okay, so that's super important to know. Some people split it in two. If you hold these tabs and drag them, Unity is very in that sense that you actually take all these tabs and put them around. Okay, then another window that is always important to know in terms of user interface is the inspector, which is in the right hand here, the right side. In my case, you can put it wherever it's more comfortable for you. I use it in the right side because I'm used to look at properties on the right side. So the inspector will show you all the properties of the element that you are clicking on or you are selecting. You can either select them from the scene or select them from the hierarchy panel. Okay, and all these elements that are ready to play already on scene, right? For example, this cube, can either click it here or click it here, right? And once I click them, it will show the properties of this element, in this case, position, rotation, scale. So for example, I can actually change the scale of this just dragging here, finding these arrows, but I can also edit this number, right, as I wish, right, as how I need it. And then I see all the properties and components that I have on the inspector. You can always add different components to each element or asset or game object, right? In this case, it's a cube. My game object contains a collider, so then the player won't go or won't fall through the floor, right? It will just stay on the floor or it will crash on the floor. But there are many components or any assets. For example, here there are many scripts or coding elements that I have, but you can also add animations, many other type of components such as physics, etc. Okay, so each element could contain, and this is important to know in Unity, that each object could contain scripts, will contain components or materials. I don't know, these scripts could also contain, I don't know, activation or trigger elements, could be clickable elements, could trigger certain events, etc., etc. So all those components are actually shown in the inspector every time you click. For example, in my case, my player contains these 3 scripts and also the size, application, scale, which scale is the player. In this case, is just 1. At the same time, for example, two-dimensional elements such as this two-dimensional UI that I show at the beginning, right? It contains many properties such as a canvas, for example, etc. So important, very important panel is the inspector, which will work always. In this case, for example, I have the properties of this user interface or this UI, this menu, right? Size, event systems I'm using here, etc. Other elements I'm using to make it clickable, etc. So important to know, every time we select an element on hierarchy, the inspector will be triggered and it will show all the properties of that element. Now, at the same time, another important panel, and this is going in the order of relevance, is the project folder. Okay, the elements that are shown in this folder, this is a panel that shows us all the elements that are inside our project folder. So every time we create a new project, Unity will create a folder, and then inside that folder we will have files, assets, three-dimensional elements, materials, animations, etc., etc., and all those will go through this folder. Okay, and you can also browse to these folders. For example, here I'm using many elements that I download from the Unity Assets frameworks. I have some light maps, for example. I also have some three-dimensional elements here, cameras, many things. There are people that try to keep very tidy these elements, but as you can see, some people also may try to keep all the elements they are using on the project to keep it on hand. So that's up to your type of organization of project. And if you click here and you do right click, you'll see Show in Explorer. It will show you which actually is the folder where all these elements are in your computer or in your laptop. Okay, so it will go through the directory of your folder, your project, and then it will show you all the elements, all the assets that you are having in outside Unity, which is the same. So actually what is showing you here is your project folder. So elements in your project folder do not necessarily are in scene. There are many elements that won't go through your game, or you won't use definitely onto your game, or you will use them later, or you will use instances or prefabs of those elements in Unity. So for example, there are many things I have here that I'm not using in this scene, but I'm using it later, and then in other scenes will appear on the hierarchy, but I keep them on my project on hand in case I need it for next scenes, etc. So important to mention as well that Unity in this project folder will save your scenes. Okay, so you'll see my case I have, for example, this type of scenes here, scene 1, scene 2, all these scenes that belongs to this project. Got it? So very relevant folder, relevant window or panel, it will be the project panel. Got it. Now another windows that I tend to use a lot, and I think you will also need to know or would like to know, are the animation windows that are two different types. The Animator, which control when do you trigger animations. In this case, this is just a basic animation. I just want to show you quickly how the concept of animation controller works in Unity. So you have initial animation, and then you create some sort of tree of animation according to which animations you want to trigger. So all of these ones that you are clicking here, you will see in the inspector are actually animation files that are assigned to either an object or either a character, etc. And they started with this entry and then go to an exit, etc. Now there's also this animation panel. If you are familiar with three-dimensional animation in other softwares, this is just a linear panel where you can actually animate elements in a timeline, and then those short animations, you can save them and use them in the Animator controller, which is more like a general view of, or a general control panel of your animations in Unity. Another panel that is super relevant is the console. The console will show you any errors or any problems that you may have when you are writing scripts, writing events, triggering events, or even setting up your project. Here there are many. It will list all the errors that you may have here in this panel. If you also are programming certain things and you want to send some messages to yourself or to people that you're working with to see if certain scripts are working, you can also see it here. So you will see messages. For example, if you want to know if something is triggered or if the player is actually clicking on different sides of this panel, for example, then you will see certain messages here if you write those messages on your script. Okay. At the same time, it have different labels. For example, red labels are for more important errors or more important concerns, while yellow ones are more standards. In this case, for example, it says I'm unable to start Oculus XR, but I can play it anyway. It means that my headset is actually not connected. In my case, right now, I don't have any Oculus headset connected. So, but when I connect it, then this message goes away. So yeah, the panel is super important to take a look on it, because it shows us how our events and our scripts are going. Particularly if you are exporting, when you are already done and you are exporting your project, then it will show you if there are any errors in when you're exporting SDK, APKs, or either any type of project. Got it? So the console is important to consider it, to take a look, and to have it on screen. I say, in my case, I always keep it on screen, and if it trigger any error, it will actually activate itself. It will show it here. So important to know. Okay. Now, something I forgot to mention for the project folder is that you can actually browse any elements. You can also, for example, we want to browse certain materials, then you have different materials. You can go inside those folders and observe. So, for example, these ones are materials. You can browse anything you have inside project folder. Got it? Now, super important here is that is the package manager, which is upstairs. I already opened it for you before. And the package manager is more or less certain plugins. If you are familiar with other softwares, are packages that you can download from the Unity registry, or you can install separately as well. And these are small packages that helps you to do certain specific things. So if I click here, package manager, you can always open it from here, window panels, and then go to package manager. Then you will see here, these are most of the windows I already have open for you to showcase the tools and the panels in the interface of Unity. So here we have all this package manager, and Unity may show you, if you click here, then this tab, you will see there are it will show you all the packages that are in Unity registry, in your project, in your assets, or in the built-in. So the Unity registry will show you all the packages that exist for Unity, and then you can actually browse in here. If you want to see just the ones that are in your project, you will see this one. All these elements are actually working in my project. For example, the Oculus XR, 2D animations, for example, 2D sprite shape, because I'm using a lot of GIFs here. I'm working with mini animations and two-dimensional sprites as well, so I needed this package. Okay, but anytime you have to set up a project from different, you will need different settings, so you will need different packages. For example, in my case, I'm using this XR plugin, the Oculus XR, and I'm also using another elements, for example, the Unity recorder, all these two-dimensional ones. Some of them may be necessary, some of them not, but it's important to note that when you're following a tutorial in YouTube or anywhere else, that certain packages will crash with other ones. Some of them, for example, are very similar. I will show you, for example, here I will click in Unity registry, and if I try to browse, I don't know, I will go for the AR, augmented reality, right? We have AR Foundation, AR Core, AR Kit, and they are different. One is built for Apple products, right? For iPhone or for Vision Pro, right? While other one is built for Google, right? Google for Android and that type of devices. So if you activate one, you may have issues activating another package, right? Those or installing all those packages. So it's important to know that when you're working in Unity, if you're following a tutorial, try to follow step by step all the packages and try to make sure that you follow all the packages you need, and don't over install packages that you don't need, because that may cause some issues that you will see later on the console. Okay, and this is something that I learned just by myself having issues. So I used to install, I say, oh, for example, for PR or AR in the past, I installed Buforia from Unity, and then I install another, all the AR packages, and then they conflict each other. And a lot of people spend a lot of time at the beginning learning Unity because they over install these packages. So if you're following a tutorial in a tutorial from our channel or from other channels, it's important that you install the right packages, right? And to install just what you need, to don't have any type of conflict, and make sure that you set up your framework at the beginning of your project. You will probably set up everything, and then you won't have any issues in the next steps, just building or editing your scene, your project, and even trying your project. Then you won't have much issues. But at the beginning, when you are setting up your project, you are not sure, just try to follow a tutorial, try to know which kind of package you need, and then when you actually press play, you will see if you have any conflicting packages, and then you can read the error or follow up, see if you have installed the right packages on the right version. So you will see, for example, here packages have certain versions. For example, AR Foundation is in 4.0, then AR Core as well, etc., etc. Now, how you install those packages is super important to know. Here, for example, if you want to install this animation, in my case it says remove because I already have installed it here. But let's say, for example, you want to use this to import from Photoshop, two-dimensional PSD import. So you can import files from Photoshop, says here, right? And then you want to install it. Then you click here, and it will install the package on your project. Okay, same as when you actually install elements from the asset store, they will appear here. Some of them will appear here, and you will install them, and then you will see their folders in your project, particularly here, okay, in the project folder. So you'll see, for example, there are any plugins or anything you have installed. For example, here I click packages, and then I'll see all the packages I have installed. Same here, if I go to packages and I click in project, it will tell me all the packages that I already have on this project, but not in the whole Unity record, right? Now, for example, here, if I want to browse something about PR or something, or maybe XR, then it will show me all the XR. And here you will see the icon which ones of these you actually have installed. Okay, so important advice here that is none in the videos in YouTube in general. The people don't explain you much. This is that every time you install a package, just make sure that's the package you need, and just make sure that it is not conflicting with anything else. Otherwise, it's hard for you to start your project, and it's hard also to press play and try and test your again, you are building the experience you are building. Got it? So important is the package management. Another important thing to start your project is actually the build settings that I will show you right now. If you go to File, you'll see Build Settings, and here you'll see this big window with many options. In the left side, left bottom side, you will see there are many elements. All those are the possible platforms, at least for the version that I'm using right now, which is Unity 2020, a 3.5 version, the favorite of a lot of people. And here you will see that you can build for PC, Mac, or any other platforms, which are computers, right? I'm building for Android, so it will show you here which are the platform you are building for. In my case, I'm building for Android, this project. And in the right side, it will show you the options, right? If you want to build for just Windows, Universal, all those, if you are building games for iOS, PS4, PS5, Xbox, or if you are building a project that will run on website. For example, now running on running on browser is a very common thing for particularly for VR or um, three-dimensional websites, etc. Got it. Now for Android, in my case, it will show certain elements here. For example, when I connect my device, I connect my Oculus or my headset, it will actually show me the code of the name of my headset. If I have many headsets, it will actually show me each of them, show me one or the other one, and then you can choose, and then you also can always refresh. And here in the top side, it will show me all these scenes that I actually want to build on this experience. For example, if this is a game and this game involves this 31 or 30 scenes plus home right menu, then it will show me all these scenes. I can also deactivate the scenes that I want to or I don't want to build, and then once I press build, it will start to build my software. Okay, important to note here that this is when you are already done, when you are trying to test your game, your software, or your application. You press build, and then it will start to export this. In this case, for example, if it's Android, it will export an APK. If it's another element, it will be a SDK as well. If it's for a computer, for example, etc. Got it? So then important here is that we have all the scenes that you want to export. Sometimes you can also add the open scenes, and if you have a scene behind that is open and that is not in this list, then you just click here and the scene will appear on this list, and then you can click it on. And then once you build this software, when you press build, you will have a file right in a folder, and that file is your executing or executable file, which is it will go to install to somewhere. Try to install either in a phone, in a headset, or in a computer, etc. Got it? So important panel is build setting, particularly when you are ready to test. Okay. Another secondary, I would say, panels are the lighting one, which shows you different elements. Lighting is super important, at least for VR. We are building a XR project because today we don't have much of the real-time light maps, or we try to work with baked lights, which means the lights are already calculated in advance, and you don't have real-time shadows, or you have very little real-time shadows because that's super heavy and expensive for the capabilities we have on the headsets. I would say particularly the portable headsets, the ones that are connected to a computer, those ones will still can build some real-time light maps and more dynamic shadows. But if you are building a project that requires to be more compressed or more light, then most of the lighting we actually build is you'll see here is already done or is already calculated. And here in lighting, of course, you can set up materials, which material you want to use for the sky, for all the environment, etc. So this one, for example, are my light maps. You know, keep changing them, and these ones you will see they are already calculated, right? And they are saved on the project folder. They're also here. You can also generate a new light map if you have made changes on scene, etc. Now, a few little things before we finish this tutorial is that I want to walk you through this very small short panel of tools. For example, we say that every time we click on something, we have this gizmo that will show us direction in this case once it's clicking here. But if we click here, it will show us options for rotation. For example, if we click here, it will show us options for scaling. Okay, we can always click on the middle one, and it will scale all the axes, okay, on all the dimensions. And if we click here, we can also change certain elements. For example, here where it's useful, you will see if I click this big floor I have here, if I see you can click here, then I can actually scale it in a two-dimensional way. Okay, here I can scale it in a three-dimensional form, and then here I can displace or move it and then rotate it. Now, once we move in the space, it's important to note that we have another gizmo here, which will help us to navigate the space. And there are certain icons and things that are important to note. For example, here, once we click this element, I will show you here. Here there's an arrow and says perspective. So we got a perspective view. But if I click again, I will get a more isometric view, which is a more strict perspective or more strict view of the object, right? It's not in the formation of the geometry. So here I will see if I have a click on ISO, then I can actually move using this panel, right, in this gizmo, to the top, the front, to the right, and these views are strict views. So it means this is the full front and there's nothing else. So it will be a two-dimensional view. This the same, it will be a two-dimensional view. So if I want to move, for example, my player here in a very strict form, then I can just move it from here. Or if I want to move it from here, top, then I can also do it in a strict form. And if I want to see it more in a perspective view, then I can just click here and I can still move. But these views, as you can see, are not strict views in perspective. Okay, if I click here, then I'm more restricted. So more strict. It helps you to edit and observe the objects in real magnitude, I'll say. So it's a very useful element, either from this panel and at the same time combining with the view gizmo, which is I think is a very useful element. Okay, and I think for now, well, there are many things to consider. For example, there are layers, there are tags, there are other things that I will actually try to cover in another tutorials. I try to walk you through all the main panels and main user interface menus that we have in Unity. I hope it was useful. If you like this type of content, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, and let me know what complicated things from Unity interface do you think are hard to understand, so we can do a video about. Let me know what else you want to learn about XR, about VR. I'll also build some videos about Figma and Unity in the coming videos. But let me know what you want to learn, so I can make some videos and I can walk you through and show you. We can do our best to show and share knowledge on this platform. All right, see you next time.